Ms. Honeycutt.
All right, good evening. The Special Housing Committee is myself, Mr. Middleton, Mr. Sass, Mr. Werman, and of course the chairman sits on all committees. So could I have a motion for the approval of minutes of October 9th?
Approve.
It's been probably moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Ayes have it. Item number 2, Housing Our Future update. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee, and members of council for the opportunity to update you on some progress in the housing arena. I'd like to remind everyone in attendance that really everything we're working towards is outlined in the Housing Our Future plan. There are 5 broad strategic goals to the plan, which I've listed up there. I'll also remind you that there are 27 sub-strategies to help implement these goals. And while it is my job as Director of Housing and Land Management to coordinate the overall implementation, we rely heavily on internal and external partners, and you're going to hear about some of their progress today towards these goals and some of the specific strategies. But first, I'd like to update you on the land acquisition program. As a reminder, this is a partnership with Charleston Redevelopment Corporation. F.A. Johnson could not be here tonight, but I will remind you that you allocated $2.5 million towards the program. $765,000 remains. 6 projects have been awarded for a total of up to 77 total attainable units, split almost evenly between home ownership and rental and serving a wide range of AMIs. Next steps, we're going to finish our review of applications that are already submitted and come up with a concrete plan to ensure that we expend these ARPA funds well in advance of the December 31st deadline. Next, I'd like to bring up one of our external partners, South Carolina Community Loan Fund's Anthony Weston. He's going to provide some exciting updates on the Housing Trust Fund, but I'd also like to introduce you to Cindy Rourke, who is the new CEO for South Carolina Community Loan Fund, replacing Nate Barber and Deborah McKetty. Anthony?
Thank you, Eric. Good evening. My name is Anthony Weston. I am the Senior Community Development Loan Officer for South Carolina Community Loan Fund, and we are your partner and program administrator for the Housing Our Future Trust Fund. We serve as a guide from the application process to closing, as well as providing technical assistance to applicants. But tonight is about the work that your leadership has done. We have been awarded 4 projects. Total amount is $12.6 million, and amount awarded is $6.56 million. 184 of these units, or 88%, have been allocated towards affordable and workforce units. Total units and projects is 209. So these public dollars multiply housing production through mixed income projects. We're helping real people, real jobs, and real community, and real stability. Of these 4 projects, we've listed the AMIs. We serve teachers, healthcare workers, public safety, service workforce, young families, and seniors. This investment is across Charleston County. We have a couple projects in West Ashley, one in North Charleston, and 2 projects in Charleston. Again, the community return, we're ensuring that there's stability, employers are retaining their employees, we're reducing displacement. Again, private capital is being leveraged, and this is also a great opportunity to ensure that long-term community resilience. Sustaining momentum. We've seen that demand continues to be strong. We're getting a lot of inquiries, as well as early stage applications are increasing. Our ask is that we just continue to have partnership that ensures housing production doesn't slow. I want to thank you again for your leadership, and I'm open to any questions.
Any questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That.
Thanks, Anthony. Next up, I have a familiar face, an internal partner, Luella Smalls, Director of our Community Development and Revitalization Department. Her programs often stretch across multiple strategic goals and multiple strategies, so she's going to speak a little bit about her department's progress towards Goal 3, invest in the creation and preservation of attainable housing, and Goal 4, supporting housing stability and security.
Good afternoon, Council. Thank you for allowing me a few moments today to provide an update on the affordable housing programs within the Community Development and Revitalization Department. As you may recall, our department leverages funding from HUD, ARPA, the South Carolina Housing Trust Fund, and the MacArthur Fund to advance the initiative of affordable housing in Charleston County. Through partnership with nonprofit organizations across the county, 2025 was a great year. In this year, these nonprofits produced 13 single-family homes. They constructed them for home ownership. 76 multifamily rental units were constructed, with 72 of those units serving households at or below 30% AMI. 85 homes were repaired, improving safety and habitability, and 53 homes were provided access to clean drinking water and safe sewer systems. We must say that was a wonderful accomplishment and something the department is extremely proud of. I do want to briefly highlight some of our programs. I know sometimes council likes to see the success and the process along the way. The GAP program is in partnership with the South Carolina Community Loan Fund also. And we all worked with developers on several projects, including Cooper Crest, 573 Meeting Street, and perhaps our proudest moment in 2025 is when we finished this project, which moved 72 senior citizens into the Esau Jenkins Village homes. Let's talk a little bit about the infill development. We'll look at projects on Comstock Street in Delaware. These houses were built on Comstock. And this house is on Delaware. And finally, the Charleston Homes Program. As you may recall, we are rehabilitating the homes the county purchased from the Housing Authority. We completed 5 this year. The first one was on Brent Street. And this is the young man that got keys to his first home. And this is the young lady that got keys to her first home on Dogwood. So as you can see, 2025 was a good year for Charleston County. I thank you for allowing me this opportunity to discuss the county's success in 2025 on reaching the goals in your affordable housing plan, or affordable housing plan and Housing Our Future plan. Are there any questions?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Pryor.
Those houses on Comstock and Delaware, what was the average price? What did they sell for? Do you have a price?
I can get that information for you. There have been so many prices. I can get that for you. Comstock and Delaware with
Yeah, I just want to
Magnolia
know
and
because
Henrietta.
from my understanding, those houses are going for $460,000 to $480,000. So to me, that's not affordable in Union Heights.
Okay, I can get that information.
And the variance that they gave them, I mean, you can reach your hand out the window and shake your neighbor's hand because the houses are so close. So if these houses are going to be affordable to the folks that actually live or come from the community, yeah, $460,000 to $480,000 is not affordable.
Anybody else? Mr. Boykin.
Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt. Ms. Smalls, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart how moved and touched I was with the Esau Jenkins Village project. My wife and family and I actually had the opportunity to help move those folks into their new accommodations, along with City Council member Jim McBride. They were in tears. Some of them were crying. They were so overwhelmed by the uplifting of their lives to move in those accommodations. I just can't tell you how much I appreciate the work that your department's done. It is absolutely meaningful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Moody.
Thank you, Mrs. Honeycutt. I'm not on the committee, but wanted to echo that a little bit. I wanted to thank you for the work on Habitat on Dogwood Road.
Yes, sir.
That's a high traffic area that leads to a lot of long-standing single-family homes, and it really was an eyesore on Dogwood
Mm-hmm.
Road, and it's a thing of beauty now. It's a great project, so I'm glad we did it. And I think we're going to take up something finance related to that, too, so
Yes, sir,
it's
we
good
will.
stuff. Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt.
Mr. Werman?
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Honeycutt. Yeah, Ms. Smalls, I'd just echo what's been said. I mean, you know, when we adopted the Housing Our Future plan, we knew it was a long road and a big plan. So, you know, always good to see that we're continuing to chip away at it and staying on pace and, you know, continuing to pursue things in different areas, because as we've talked about many times, there's no silver bullet to this issue. So good to see that we're focusing on a number of different strategies here.
All right, Mr. Sass?
Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt. And I think one thing that's very important component of that is the repairs.
Yes, sir.
That we're able to keep people in their homes. And that's important to families, to their generational wealth, and to their just general well-being. So I think that's a good portion of it, too. Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, Mr. Weston, Mr. Davis, Ms. Smalls, thank you all so much. You got one more? Go ahead.
One more partner I'd like for you to hear from before I wrap things up. You know, all know Andrea Melisick-White, interim director of planning and zoning. She's got a few progress updates for you on some of the planning and zoning work to support affordable and attainable housing.
All right, good evening. We are continuing to monitor the zoning rewrites that the City of North Charleston and the City of Charleston are going through. In addition, back at their November meeting, the Planning Commission formed a subcommittee to look at missing middle housing. And how that can be better dealt with in the zoning and land development regulations ordinance. They have had one subcommittee meeting so far back in January, and they will meet monthly. So far, they're beginning to look at nodes that would be good locations within the urban growth boundary, where we could look at maybe some higher density and some incentives, better incentives for affordable housing. And then finally, as you may remember, back in August, County Council approved the development agreement for Orange Hill, which included $1.5 million in contribution for future affordable housing and attainable housing initiatives. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Andrea? So sorry, Andrea, didn't mean to cut you off. Thank
Oh, no,
you.
thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. And I will wrap things up with a brief update on some progress with the tax abatement incentives. So under our Universal Tax Exemption Program, we finalized all of our processes, procedures, templates, and documentation. We've been working on increasing capacity of this program. As you know, Grow America is the country's oldest community development organization. I've got Ryan Johnson with me here tonight. Ryan helped us set up the program, and now his role has shifted more to doing the independent cost-benefit analysis when these projects come through. And we're also talking with them about how they can also help us expand their services to go after some additional strategies in the plan. We also have doubled our internal staff for housing development. We hired Renero Wilburn. Renero is our housing development financial manager. He comes from the private sector with many years of experience in multifamily and infill development, so we're really excited to have that perspective on staff as well. Tonight in Finance Committee, you'll be receiving our first recommendation for an incentive under the UTEP program, Cordelia on Rivers. We have 5 other applications at various stages in the application process, and some are very close, some are still going to take a while. Lastly, we are working, now that we have a process down and our first one coming through, we're ready to go out and really sell the program to our municipal partners and the development community. So that's the presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have not covered yet. Yes, sir.
Reverend Middleton.
Madam Chair, it just warms my heart, to hear the updates from our Housing Our Future plan. I think that when council strategically plans and we put these type things in action or in motion, it gives us, a very specific target, all of these strategies, all of these goals, and staff, they have clear direction. It's not arbitrary. It's not ambiguous. The things are extremely impactful, and now we're seeing the fruit. And so I would just, continue to encourage, all of you to keep your eye on the ball as things continue to change and shift. As long as we're doing this kind of good work, I think the citizens of Charleston County win. So just wanted to at least applaud us
for coming together and being united and following this plan.
Thank you. Mr. Darby?
Yes, I just want to touch on what was intimated by Councilman Pryor, because the people who reside on the Union Heights and the Liberty Hills and Chicora, Cherokee areas, not going to put an entire blanket on everyone, but they are of the lower or the upper lower class. And for a home to cost $460,000 to $600,000, that's going to be beyond their reach. My question would be, should we not perhaps afford more dollars in the repairing of those dilapidated houses which are already into existence, as opposed to building these houses which are not really affordable, and not to disparage whatever you all are saying in Ms. Smalls, but would that not be a better route? Because these are houses already owned by the folk that they just can't live in. And then when you bring this $460,000 home, of course, this is going to be someone of the lower or the upper middle class and even beyond that they can afford. And now the taxes are going to go up, and the folks who really can afford housing there, their tax now going to go up, insurance is going to go up. So could we not afford more dollars to repairing those homes which are dilapidated? Those floors that they're walking on now, that they can see the ground or see the stars when they go to bed at night. And I'm not asking as a rhetorical question, but could we not look into the repairing of these homes?
I hear you loud and clear, Councilman Darby. That's certainly one of the tools in the toolbox, and one that Ms. Smalls has been working on through the critical home repair. I believe that number was 85 units to date. As you know, they had, I believe, well over 1,000 applications for the program, and I believe you hope to serve around 300 with that initial ARPA funding. But yes, sir, I hear your concern.
Thank you, Mr. Darby. Anybody else? Christine, or Mr. Rant, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted, thank you, members of council. I just wanted to say we have some numbers that are different than what are floating out there. They should have, the houses on Comstock and Delaware should have been sold for around 200 because the AMI, the people that had to be served, they have to meet the HUD standard. So we have one that I've just gotten information on that looks like it was 190, but I'm looking for verification. Probably by the end of the meeting, I'll have the other one. But remember, these are targeting very specific AMIs. To balance that, some of the providers are also that are doing these houses are also putting, which I think we're going to talk about later in the next meeting, silent second loans. And the reason they're doing that is it allows a lower income individual to buy a house, but it doesn't necessarily lower the property values of the others around. So it's a balancing act of having mixed income communities in place, but not lessening the value by lowering the sale price of houses. I think we're going to talk about that a little bit more in finance. Ms. Smalls, I believe. So I just wanted to, before that got out of hand and somebody thought we're selling houses for $460 and $480, that is not correct. We're not. So we'll get facts.
And to your point, it may be a house that we sell for $190, but the other houses surrounding it, by private developers, is going to drive that price up. Okay, so that's my concern. Sure. I mean, we're building one, but they're building 10 on the street. Only one person gets to get that. So how do we get more people in? In the other 9.
Understood.
That's already built.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other comments? Again, I just want to say thank you. Mr. Johnson, thank you for being here. Mr. Weston, I appreciate you being here as well. Ms. Smalls, for all your hard work. And Mr. Davis, we appreciate that. And I can't underestimate Andrea and our planning and zoning's contribution to this as well, because land use is where it kind of starts. So thank you for looking into opportunities there. Thank you all. If there's nothing else, that adjourns our meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt. At this time, we'll move into our Finance Committee meeting. All members of County Council are members of the Finance Committee, and I'm the chair. Item 1, minutes of January 22nd. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it.
Mr. Chair, move to approve 2A, B, and C.
Second.
I'm going to I'm getting ready to make an agenda change, Mr. Middleton, if you don't. I'm going to move item 8 up now. So we have Mayor Cogswell, City of Charleston, that's going to make his presentation for 993 and 995 Morrison Drive.
It was already over. I thought they backed out the deal. So is this something new?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate you all letting me jump in here. We're here tonight to talk about a proposal or an idea for 993, 995 Morrison Drive, of course, the property that we had under contract with the county, hoping to do affordable housing, but we're no longer under contract, but would still like to work together with the county on facilitating the development of this and doing it in a way that would get you all the appraised value that you all have for the property, and also ensure housing, affordable housing would go there. So what I'll do very briefly, because I know you'll have a long agenda, I want to go through, because some of you all have seen this, others haven't, but we have an initiative to deliver 3,500 affordable housing units in the city of Charleston. This is based on a Bloomberg housing report that we got that basically said what we are doing right now, despite great efforts and a lot of forward momentum, is not coming close to addressing our affordable housing needs. We've delivered in the past 7 years almost about 400 affordable housing units. We need to 10x that if we're going to even make a dent in our housing needs. So we did a pretty deep dive on this. And we went through all publicly owned properties, did an algorithm on where it was made a lot of sense based on job centers, based on public transportation, based on zoning, based on flooding, based on you name it. We did a lot of science behind identifying where available sites were for redevelopment, for housing. We have really landed primarily on the lion's share of this 3,500 would come in the form of 3 sites or 3 proposals on the peninsula of Charleston that would be in part city-owned property and in part housing authority-owned property, which I'll get to here in a minute. This is how, when I'm told 3,500 units, I don't just want to say that's a great number. I want to know where are we going to find the capacity to build 3,500 units. So this is how we've broken it down. We have about 200 that have been completed, that were under construction when the report was underway. We have about 1,000 that are in entitlements in design. And so that leaves us with approximately 2,500 units we need to find locations for. And we have these targeted sites, including with the Housing Authority. And these, again, 3,500 net new affordable housing units. That's keeping what we have now, adding 3,500 units. Again, these are the locations. I won't, again, go into all the weeds on this, but we have, and here's the timeline on how we can deliver it. And what we want to do, particularly in partnership with the Housing Authority, is make sure that no existing residents are displaced. And we do what's called a Build First program, where we build mixed income housing contiguous to the Housing Authority property, move those residents in as we phase out the housing projects largely on the peninsula. We would do it in a breakdown of about 80 units per acre. Currently, the Housing Authority is 20 units per acre, and they're almost 100 years old. And they have had pretty serious capital expenditure or deferred maintenance problems that have been associated with them. So they really need to start fresh. And there have been countless studies and analysis that you don't just have a concentration of the poor, the lowest income. You want to bring in mixed income with that. But this effort would allow permanent restrictions for affordable in perpetuity. Okay? We also don't want to do just any old type of development. What you see on the left is the proverbial Texas donut. It is an institutionalized type of commercial product that is used all over the country. We are looking at doing things that are of scale and mass to our historic district, which is one of our greatest assets. And so we want to make sure we have a lot of control over the design, not just BAR. So we've gone into typologies. These, again, we'll buzz through these, but one of the things that's well known about Charleston is its built environment. And what you have in Charleston is a bunch of squares and rectangles. And what I mean by that, a Charleston single house is a rectangle. It's a very simple structure. Mm-hmm. And so if you take that concept and you start to commoditize it and put it in quantities of scale, you can actually deliver a product that is cost effective. But it can't be done in 200 units or 50 units here. It has to be done in large volumes in order for it to make sense. So we've come up with different typologies from, again, the single house to a double house form to a slightly larger. And again, you can see historical examples of this and current examples of this. Same thing with slightly more higher density buildings. And then you can even get up to large projects, but breaking it up in terms of mass so that, again, fits within the built environment. Again, these are inspirations. I've done a pretty deep dive on this. And we're working with the Housing Authority, again, on all of their properties, but also the city's putting in properties that we own, like West Edge, like the property that we are now under contract, 899, like our Parks facility up at the intersection of Meeting and Mount Pleasant Street. And what we're doing here, again, these are the build first strategies. You can see here, this is West Edge. And you can see how these typologies will fit and bring us about 80 units to an acre. And then we can add in Housing Authority with it so that we can have a whole neighborhood redevelopment. And again, this is about an aggregate about 18 to 20 acres that would be redeveloped. So you get those economies of scale. And this is kind of what we would be looking at. So what we're here tonight to ask you, we are going to go out to the market with... Let me see if I can find this. Well, whatever. We're going to go out to the market with 3 proposals, 3 initiatives. The west side, which would be Gadsden Green, as well as the West Edge Foundation property. That's one solicitation to the private sector. We would go out in the middle with Ragborough Homes and properties that we own on Upper Meeting Street. And then on the east side, we would do the property that we're under contract with the Longshoremen, as well as Cooper River Courts and Meeting Street Manor, right? So what we'd like to do is include 993 and 995 in that solicitation. That is not you all becoming partners with us. That is not a joint venture or you giving the property over to us. It is us saying we're going to design this property just like we're designing our own property. In the same context, we ask that you give us until the end of the year to find a buyer or a joint venture partner that would come in, pay you your appraised value for your property. The county would then be out, and that developer would come into our joint venture. And they would bring that property in, and the cash they extended to pay for it, as their capital contribution into our deal. So again, there's a lot kind of to take in. But from my standpoint, we are very bullish on this. I think this needs to happen. This is the kind of volume we have to have in terms of delivering affordable housing to our community in order to really make a difference. And so one of the big concerns I have is when things fell apart with us because we couldn't agree, our respective councils couldn't agree on price, which is understandable and no casting any, we're both stewards of our own assets, right? So we need to be respectful of that. But what I don't want to have happen is you all put your 6.5 acres out on the market for $34 million with an affordable housing requirement. And we're marketing to the same people 65 acres of property where they don't necessarily have to bring in, they could bring in $35 million or $40 million, but ours basically, I think, will be a more attractive deal. So I don't want to be in competition with the county. So we're just trying to be very transparent here about what we're doing. We'd like to work together and get you all the money that you're looking for, but also guarantee an affordable housing component to it that I think we all want. So that's the gist of it. What we'd like to offer to you all, I didn't want this to come out of nowhere. Chairman Boykin suggested I come in and kind of give you all the basics here before I just give you a memorandum of understanding to consider about contributing 993, 995, or giving an option on 993, 995 until the end of the year. So that's why I'm here tonight, talk about kind of what we're doing and how we would like to move forward. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mayor Cogswell. Any questions? I'll start with Mr. Wehrman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mayor Cogswell. So, you know, I think, and I know that you know this, Mayor, but maybe just for the benefit of the public, you know, I think there's been a narrative, not necessarily from the city, but just generally in the ether, that this council only cared about getting the appraised value and whatnot. I mean, I can tell you, since I've been on this council, there have been numerous efforts to get affordable housing on that exact site, from the deed restrictions we were doing to the 3A, I don't remember if it's 3A or 3B plan. So I'm interested in this mainly because it's again, I would commend your sort of visionary approach here. I can't sit here and say that that this doesn't seem like the best of all possible worlds. I am interested in hearing, you know, I think the zoning would probably delineate what the affordability looks like, the term of affordability. What are we looking at in terms of what this site becomes? Because we have, you know, at various points kind of been starting and stopping, but have had these ideas of trying to do something similar in terms of mixed income housing, and we got to weigh that against what this is going to be.
Yeah, look, you make a great point, and there's, you know, we are not at odds. We are on the same page here. And if there was, I certainly do not feel like the county is just trying to get as much money as they can for the property. You all have been good partners. But again, when you get an appraisal as a public entity and we get an appraisal as a public entity and we can't come together on that, I mean, we need to figure out an alternative plan. So that's what I'm proposing here. In terms of the zoning, what we are doing is we are creating a new zoning classification. It's based on one we currently have called MUWH, Mixed Use Workforce Housing. It would be MUWH 3, which puts permanent restrictions so that 50% of the units would be permanently restricted for affordability. And we can show you that it's the exact same chart that was in our purchase and sale agreement. And so 25% of it would be catering to the people that are in public housing now to make sure that they are accounted for and they are not displaced, but they are put into new housing. 25% of it would be more workforce housing, which would be probably 50 to 60% AMI to 120. And then 50% of it would be market rate.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, so I think that answers, I think the question, yeah. So basically the zoning becomes the mechanism by which affordability is guaranteed, and the duration of the affordability is permanent.
Yes.
Forever. Listen, I mean, there is no denying that is an appealing proposition. Mm-hmm. You know, so I'm certainly open to it, Mayor Cogswell. You know, my concern, and I don't necessarily know if it's a concern, but some of the drawbacks of such a visionary approach and going for such scale are certainly that, you know, we're going to, I think, have to sort of tie up our efforts to sort of develop this independently. I shouldn't say develop. Folks get mad when I say we're developing the property. But the idea was certainly that we would do a much smaller version of what you're talking about. You just alluded to that. And so, you know, I'm certainly open to it. My only concern is there a way that, you know, if this doesn't work out, we can be ready to go on, you know, February 6, 2027.
I would say that yes. So what we're going to do in partnership with the Housing Authority is contribute funds to design it. And we've got, starting in March, two of the world's leading architects in classical architecture coming to Charleston for a week to design and develop these prototypes. We know, and we've met with structural manufacturers on those rectangles and boxes, is simple, putting it simply. So you're going to have a fully designed plant, whether or not you choose to use it, but it'll be very marketable, high density, 80 units to an acre, with all this zoning outlined as well. So, you know, it should not put you back anything. In fact, I would argue that with our group effort, we will expedite the process of entitlements and design far faster than if we were to do it independent of one another. Because again, ladies and gentlemen, what is essential in this, and the only reason this works, is economies of scale. And what we are doing is, in essence, designing this so that we eliminate the risk to the private sector coming in and the unknowns. That's one of the biggest problems that affordable housing efforts take, is how long it takes to go through the entitlement process and to go through, frankly, the regulation and red tape that unfortunately is tied to affordable housing. So we're taking this all the way up to the head of HUD. We've been meeting with them on creating a pilot program for this. We're talking to institutional capital to come in with social impact funds, money that's raised specifically for this that can have a lower yield. So all those things, plus the economies of scale, are what come in to allow this thing to be grounded in reality in terms of economics. It's still going to be difficult, I can promise you that, but you have to do that in order to make the numbers work here.
I appreciate it, Mayor. Thank you. No, like I said, I think there's a lot to like about the idea. I look forward to, I will want to take a look at the MOU, but look forward to doing that.
Yep.
Ms. Honeycutt?
Mayor, thank you so much. This is bold. It is incredible. It takes someone with, I think, your skill and background to even pull off. So kudos on getting this together. The presentation is very informative. I am concerned about what strings are attached to the property in the event for some reason this does not, the option doesn't plan. Are y'all expecting us to rezone this property, to pull it out of the PUD in the meantime?
We would just leave it the way it is. I mean, nothing would change. But we would be making the assumption, just like all of our property and housing authority property, that it would be coming in as our new zoning classification that would put the permanent restrictions. But and I'd love it if y'all wanted to just go ahead and move forward with that, but we're fine to just wait out of, measure of good faith to just not touch it and hold on everything until we have the closing set up to where you all would get the funding and be out of the deal.
And so the MOU would contemplate a trigger of us receiving that front-end capital of whoever your investor is. We're out of the deal, then y'all take it over completely.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Kabrowski.
I want to thank you. It really is breathtaking in your vision in this, and I like the emphasis on livability and looking at it for scale. And this 80 units per acre, how high do you have to build to that, and how many people would that mean?
So it would be almost 7,000 total units in aggregate. This is on the peninsula, generally speaking, right? Between those three with y'all's contribution. And in terms of height, there would be, depending on where you are, like Morrison Drive, you would have maybe 5 to 7 stories. It's zoned, I think, to go to 8 right now. But when you get into closer to neighborhoods, it would be coming down. So that's why it's kind of an average of 80 units per acre. And you saw those different prototypes that can allow for that. And one of the things also I want to mention, too, that one of the programs that was talked about earlier was home ownership. This shouldn't all be rental. This is important to make sure that people can have opportunities to build wealth and buy property. You don't want everything to be rental. So some of those smaller units, we would be looking to do fee simple. But again, a lot of wood needs to be chopped. We need to go through this design exercise in March, and you'll be hearing a lot about that. We would just, again, like to include the county's property as and part of that overall plan.
Anyone else? Well, Mayor, from my part in this, I think it's a fabulous plan. It looks like it checks all the boxes we've been trying to check. I agree with the economies of scale, unquestionably. It just makes good sense to me to have it all under one program, one ownership, instead of us going out on our own ways. So I, for one, could certainly get behind something like this, as long as it address all of Ms. Honeycutt's issues, and it sounds like they will be. So again, I just want to say thanks for coming up here and making this presentation, and look forward to something coming from you in the future.
Yep, you'll have it in the next few days. Just wanted to put it on your radar. Thank you all.
Thank you,
for having
sir.
me. Thank you.
Mayor. Thank you.
All right, going back to our order, resolutions. 2A.
Motion a second down here, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
All right. On all three?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
No, I don't need to do that.
Okay. All right, moving on to item 3, consent agenda. 3A, the County Parks and Recreation.
Move for approval, sir.
All right. Have a second?
Question.
Go ahead, Ms. Moody.
I'm not sure, maybe we can have an answer by next week. I just wanted to maybe check out the repayment sources of this. I know these assets are probably getting older and need to be maintained or upgraded, and maybe some new features. But I want to make sure that the repayment source is there. I don't know if we're increasing fees or what we're doing there. So if somebody can give me some recon by next week, that'd be great.
All right. Thanks, sir. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. 3B.
Approve B through D.
Have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on to item 4, Public Services Directorate. 4A, Donnie Lane and Raphael Lane.
Staff recommendation.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Item 5.
Move for approval A and B.
All right.
Can we separate them out, please?
Move for approval A.
Okay. Any discussion?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Go ahead.
So, thank you. Yeah, so, I mean, my question on this is, I guess I get it's $7,000, but this is something they've already done, and we're just sort of saying we'll give you $7,000 for doing it, or was this a condition of it on the front end? Yeah.
No, sir. So
Okay.
that's an estimation.
Gotcha.
We following state law, we would be agreeing to go ahead and abate the 5 years worth of county property taxes on that piece of property, starting in last year.
But I guess my point is, unlike, when someone's coming in and investing a bunch of capital and jobs and stuff, the exchange here is that they cleaned up the site. And they already did clean up the site. Okay. All right. Just making sure I understand it.
Yes, sir. And the law states that they have to clean the site before they can come back and ask for this as an incentive, sir.
Did they talk to you all about this beforehand?
Within the last couple months, they have, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Got one nay, Mr. Kraski.
Move for approval 5B.
Second. All right. Any discussion?
I have a discussion on this.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Kabrowski.
And again, I thank you for your excellent work and looking out for the county incentives. Am I correct that this will be, the incentive we're giving would result in 5 new jobs? That's what I've read.
That is correct, sir.
And I noticed in 5A, I know I tried to get the grid that other time, and it talked about how much money we would lose or give up. How much money for these 5 jobs would the county give up in property taxes?
So the deal is to do a special source revenue credit for them up to 5 years, not to exceed $250,000, sir.
Again, my concern here, there's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of small businesses that would love to have such tax breaks to create 5 jobs. So I just, and I respect your work, and no disrespect to you, but my opinion on this, for 5 jobs, that's a lot of incentives for picking and choosing winners and losers when everybody goes to work the same way in the county, and I just would not be in favor of it, but thank you.
Any further discussion? Mr. Weirman.
Actually, Mr. Johnson, when we say the investment will generate approximately $1.4 million for the taxing entities over the next 20 years, is that in addition to what it's currently being generated, or?
That is correct. Their investment of $21 million roughly will equate to $1.4 million, yes, sir, over 20 years.
Okay.
All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? One nay, Mr. Bobrowski. Motion carries. All right. Item 6A.
Move to approve 6A and B.
Second? Okay. Properly moved and seconded.
Question.
Discussion, Mr. Moody.
Mr. Durant, I think I heard you explain this in the first one. This second mortgage, this is not an open line of credit that the Habitat or whoever sponsor can go pull cash out of this property. This is just a mechanism to bring the value of the affordable home up to the values of the surrounding homes, so there's not a negative market impact to those neighbors for an affordable housing unit moving into next to them.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. All right. This time, 7A, future transportation and sales tax draft projects and investment categories. Do we have a motion? No motion. Do we want to go in discussion? But I don't know if we have
I'm happy to put the motion on the floor.
for discussion. Okay.
Yeah, so we looked yesterday at staff recommendation, and my motion would be that we revise the staff recommendation such that the Greenbelt portion is 17.5% and the transit portion is 17.5%. We've already heard from numerous constituents about the balances there. And I would also propose that we remove $150 million that is currently categorized for the seawall construction, leaving 50% of what they've requested. I think we can make a very strong case for protecting the medical district. I'm a little concerned about the size of that ask, and its real locale is it's really only on the peninsula. So there's a whole county out there, and I don't want to put another poison pill in our referendum that creates a problem. So reallocating that to some of the other projects that scored very high, above 90%, and I'd like to hear from staff about a couple of those projects. There was some feasibility issues, but particularly in response to North Charleston's requests. There were some on Ladson Road that didn't get approved. But having that extra money in there, I think, would be helpful. So the only 2 changes are the reallocation of Greenbelt Transit balance and the seawall funds.
Do we have a second? I'll second it for purposes of discussion. Who would like to go first, Mr. Weirman?
You know, Councilman Honeycutt, I share some of the concerns about the seawall. We talked about the battery extension project. We talked about that yesterday. I'm less excited about the money getting reallocated away from downtown. You know, there is a whole county out there, but you know, typically downtown's not getting a lot of big projects down there to begin with. So, you know, there's certainly, I think, a lot of worthy projects. I frankly worry a great deal about the battery extension sort of crowding out too many other worthy projects. But other worthy projects downtown is you know, I couldn't support allocating 150 away from downtown. If we need money from other projects, I think that should be taken equitably from around the county. And maybe some of it can be from that, but I can't support that part of it. Certainly would be willing to support the first part in terms of the Greenbelt and transit. I think that's a step in the right direction. I think, frankly, transit needs more than just 17.5. But you know, like I said, I believe that's a good move for sure. So that's where I'm at with that particular motion. Thank you, sir.
Any other discussion?
Yeah.
Basket.
Mr. Pryor.
Oh, go
Ms.
ahead.
Pryor,
I'll
you first. Ms. Pryor, were you up
No,
first?
let him go ahead.
Okay. I thank Councilman Honeycutt. Councilwoman, council member, I thought I said, Honeycutt for her motion and direction on it. I, for one, would like to keep the green belt at 20%. And I think this is, as I said yesterday, a generational opportunity to prevent what we're losing every day as most people, maybe not, people that own homes who've lived here a long time have seen every day what they love about Charleston being Charleston is eroding, and this is a chance we have to make a lasting legacy for the future. And as I said yesterday, long after the people that will live here in the future forget all of us who are sitting here and all the members out there, this will be something that will preserve Charleston for future generations. I'd rather see the 2.5% come out of the bike, so we can still do the raise the public transit to 17.5 and keep the bike improvements. That's still, if you do the math, there's still almost 100 million left for the bike if we do that. So I just would and also for the green belt, it's also the deal with the transportation needs. That's the single way that I can think of that we can prevent Charleston from being filled in. Every square inch, if we're on a course now, every square inch that's available will be filled in, and we'll lose who we are. So that's my comments on it. Thank you.
Any more comments?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Darby?
I really didn't have time to contemplate all of
Could you
this.
speak into the mic, sir?
Yes, sir. Let us forget about the percentages. Let's look at the real dollars. On average, right here it says 20% for Greenbelt. That's $850 million. And for public transit, $650 million. So if we were to go to 20-50%, we are investing more for folk who already have than for those who really need. And if we were to have 17.5 for Greenbelt, that comes out to over $700 million. If we were to do 17.5 for public transit, that would come out to 763, a little over 763 million. So where are we putting our value? We are putting our value more so in the Greenbelt as opposed to people. So I'm not understanding that. I think we ought to do no more than 15% for Greenbelt and 20% for public transit. I think that's logical. I think that makes sense. Because again, I know people hop on me, but you always talking about poor folk and rich folk. Let me make it perfectly clear. I have nothing against rich people. They deserve to be rich if they work hard for it. That's the American dream. But this Greenbelt program is not going to benefit the least of these. It always benefits those folk who already have. And for the transit, these are the people who actually need, and we are giving them less than the folks who have. So I would just turn it around and let us talk numbers as opposed to these percentages. But I could see Greenbelt getting $700 million and public transit $763 million or even more. Again, I think we need to invest more so in our people. And of course, the land is important. It's very important. But at the same time, so are human beings.
Mr. Middleton?
Along those lines, thank you so much, Mr. Chair and Mr. Darby, and certainly echoing same sentiment. I definitely am for the green belts and believe that we cannot continue infilling everything in Charleston County, and certainly, hoping that we will preserve something in perpetuity for our posterity. When I listened to the public transit discussion yesterday, and I'm so happy based on the structure of the retreat yesterday, allowing all of the groups to come provide, whatever the priorities were, and then make a case. And I hope that they were making a case, and we were listening and looking to see specifically how these funds over time will impact them. And when I heard of the transit conundrum, this will do nothing more than just the status quo, nothing new as it relates to moving our transit system. And I remember, because I rode the buses. Now, I grew up in Charleston, the city of Charleston. We walked everywhere back in those days. But from time to time, if we were going to be extravagant, we would ride the SCE and G bus. And I remember when the dashes started downtown Charleston. And I thought that we were, kind of almost like New York then.
You're not that old.
Oh, sir. And so I'm just saying that when I heard the presentation, it really recalibrated something in my mind, because I wanted the Greenbelts to even have even more, especially living in outer West Ashley, where when I moved out there, I intended to live in a rural area that has now become infill all around me. So I'm going to have to move to like Grand Tolls or Adams Run next. But I'm just saying that the public transit does deserve more. Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt, for the 17.5. I think it's a good place that we can have some conversations, but I do feel that even 17.5% does not move them in a transformational way, specifically looking at the Low Country Bus Rapid Transit coming, looking at all of these other modalities that when looking at the amount of housing, if then that is realized in the city, my God, how are we going to move them? How are they going to move around, except having some transit system that would be able to keep up. So if they keep pace with, by 2032, whatever that number was, projection, there would not be a transportation system internally in our region that would be able to help move those people around. I couldn't imagine cars on those same streets. The infrastructure is not going to change when you all, build all of those housing units. And so people will have to move differently around not only the peninsula, but certainly around Charleston County. And so I wish that we would, I don't know how, but I wish that we would look at that transit area a little bit more closely.
Thank you, Mr. Pryor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Darby, you stole my thunder.
I apologize,
No, no problem, because I concur. I think it's really, I wouldn't say insulting, but I think it really, wakes you up when we're going to give 20% to Greenbelts and only 15% to public transit. Now, Mr. Werman is considering 25, but I told him I would be comfortable with flipping Greenbelts and public transit, because with public transit, that's a needed resources, and with the Greenbelts, you would also have this 5% with bike and pad improvements. So it's actually kind of getting 17.5% when you actually combine those both together. And so, public transit is important. I mean, we said that, and there's some on the same council said that we needed to do something with public transit with all the infill and all the, if you look at Rivers Avenue right now, they're building apartments, right at Durant, right on the bus line. How are those folks going to get back and forth to work other than a car? But, transit may be, pretty enticing where they just leave their car parked in the garage and get on the bus and go to work. And so in order for this to work, in order for me to support moving this forward with only the percentage, because there's some projects in here that needs to be tweaked, because the city of North Charleston, where I reside, I mean, some of the projects that really needed to be done wasn't even on this list. I mean, it's like the Better North Bridge. They're taking $90 million out of North Charleston's part, but that's 45% I was in, 45 million is in the city of Charleston. That's a two project, but you look at it, it's got 90 million. And it should be split 45-45. Drainage projects in North Charleston. I mean, I don't see anything addressed. And we have problems on Ranger Drive that they've been trying to get fixed that goes under the interstate, $12 to $15 million. So, I mean, I don't mind moving this forward to only the percentages, but some of these projects are going to have to be, redone before I, really support this going forward. But if you really want to see this thing move forward, we have to reverse this green belt and the public transit, because most of the people who are going to be voting for this stuff, they use public transit. And the only thing they're going to get out of this is a ride they have to pay for on public transit. If I had my way, public transit would be free because we subsidize it anyway. So it would make sense to have 10 people on the bus and you can have 50 people on the bus. It's not going to cost you a dime more. And so that's, what I say. Ms. Honeycutt, 17 and a half, that sounds reasonable. But I mean, I think the Greenbelts program would be satisfied with 15, because we have done so much with these other sales taxes, with the Greenbelts program. And so I like to work with everybody, but if I can't get to the numbers that Mr. Darby put out, and then when we get these numbers straight and the pie chart straight, and then we need to find some more money to go to our roads program too, because it doesn't make sense to have a transportation sales tax and the majority of the money is not going to roads. It should be in the roads and it should be in public transit.
Mr. Pryor, if we pulled 0.5% from the 17.5 that we got at Greenbelt, just talking about it, and we pulled 1% from bike ped, leaving with 4%, and moved that over to transit, that puts you at 19% in transit. Is that something you think you could support?
I'm going to go with 20. I mean, like I said, Mr. Boykin, I respect you, but, if they don't want to be satisfied with 15, then, I mean, the public will make that decision once we put this pie chart out. Let's just make up the pie chart now, because we're going to have to come back after the 30 days of public information and public input. And then, and we all know what's going to happen. We're going to be flooded with these emails from the people with the Greenbelt saying to do this, but we should be able to make that decision in a way that is going to benefit everybody for the best of the county for the next 20 years. Now, some of you may be on council, but, at my age, I won't be here in 20 years on council. I'll still be living, but I won't be here on council. Okay? So that's just my thought. So I think if we want to move this forward, I think we ought to make sure transit and our road program is funded to the highest, because it looks silly for us to say this is the transportation sales tax, and we're not even putting that much money into the transportation department.
Mr. Wehrman.
As folks can see, this is the difficulty we have here is we've got a lot of moving parts. I'll remain where I'm at on the current motion on the floor, which is the 17.5, which I would support. I would also support, with some reservations, some very serious reservations, taking 5 from Greenbelt and putting it straight into transit. I don't think that's the best mix we can come up with. But, no one seems to want to, pardon the public transit reference, but no one seems to want to touch the third rail here, which is the road work. At one point we thought that was going to be 60, now it's 64. I don't have any issue taking 1 or 2 from there to make this a lot more palatable if we're going with 5% for transit. But listen, I got to vote on what's on the table. I will just reiterate that if this motion fails, which I can't vote for it if we're taking $150 million off the peninsula, then if this motion fails, I would support something else to get transit to 20%. If that money if we could lower the amount going towards the battery extension project and have some sort of assurance that it stays, or at least the vast majority of that stays on the peninsula, maybe I could join this motion, but I don't have a great idea for that right now.
One more before you move. If you really want this to pass and you vote for what's on the table now, this whole thing is going to fail because the public is not going to stand for it. So I think we need to take a stand right now and do what's right versus what's popular. But I'm telling you, voters is not as dumb as we think they are, okay? And this year is going to be a trying year. But, we need to make sure we protect the least of the least. Yeah, transportation is important. Greenbelt is important too, but we can stop some of this too. Moratorium stops a lot of building too. And, so, there's ways to stop some of the building. There's ways to make these people put infrastructure in place before they build these big developments. But, 20 over 15, that's the way it is right now. When I saw this pie chart, I was like, what were they thinking?
I'm agreeing with you, Mr. Pryor. I'm just,
But you said
I'm not
you
letting
vote for the motion that's on the floor.
I said I wouldn't vote for it.
I thought you said you would.
I said I would consider it. Now, granted, you can always continue adjusting.
Chair,
So-
is this a dialogue between the two council persons, or what's going on?
Your point of order is taken, Mr. Middleton. Ms. Honeycutt.
So I just want to say thank you all for allowing me to put a motion on the floor so we could begin the discussion. This is how the sausage is made. So I am perfectly willing to consider, or at least think we should, consider some possible alternatives here. I'm happy to make an adjustment that would allow for more in transit. I don't know that I want to necessarily flip the transit and Greenbelt piece. I do think the public spoke loud and clear about their emphasis on Greenbelt. And Mr. Darby, your point about using the numbers is very well taken. When we start talking about the dollars at play here, we are talking about more money than we have ever seen in any of these programs. So I think it is instructive and useful to go ahead and talk about the dollars specifically. But I do take issue that Greenbelt only somehow benefits the more fortunate. That simply is not the case. And I think we need to be more intentional about making sure you and Mr. Pryor have been very clear about public access. So making sure our Greenbelt program provides that public access that we want, access to water, those kinds of things. That being said, I could switch. Mr. Werman's point is well taken on the taking money away from the city, but if we took $75 million out of the seawall, I'm calling it the seawall, and we left $225 million in for the battery in Calhoun, which I think is what we call sort of the west side of the peninsula.
Correct.
That may be satisfactory. We can apply that $75 million to transit. Again, we get away from the percentages, which makes it hard to do here in public, but that's what leadership takes. Taking a minute to do the math and do the hard work. So I'm happy, again, to discuss revisions to the motion.
Yes, sir. Ms. Honeycutt, with all due respect, I beg to differ, because when it comes on the Greenbelt programs, poor people get nothing. As a matter of fact, they don't have any land even put up to get dollars. Most of these Greenbelt dollars go to the well-to-do. Let's just be honest about it. And when poor people do have a little piece of land to come up, it's sometimes denied. So I beg to differ on that, because Greenbelt has never been a friend to the poor. You got poor people paying tax dollars, and yet they can't go into the public land in which their tax dollars went to get the land. So again, I beg to differ. Now, if it left up to me, and I thought Mr. Werman was going to be a little more radical as opposed to Mr. Pryor's liberalism, 25% for transit. I mean, that would be the way to go, so that you really indeed would affect what you were talking about, sir. But if it's on the table to flip for the 15 to the 20, you will get my vote. I'll vote for that right now. But we have to put much more, I would say, into public transit.
I'll say something.
Go ahead, Mr. Booth.
Well, I've got a lot to say, and maybe I'll say that in my comments at the end, but y'all know I'm not for this, but I am interested, very interested in the allocations, and Mr. Darby, I agree with you. Ms. Honeycutt, I would take issue that the public has spoken that these advocacy groups are good at their job. They're very good at their job. Mm-hmm. So when Bike Ped, when the CCL puts out a note to send in a letter, when Transit puts out to send in a letter, their people follow. And so our staff gets these surveys back, and they go, well, gosh, now we got 15, 25, My folks live down 61 look at this and they go, there's 20% going to green space and all that. That's not the stuff they drive on and deal with every day. They're not going to like it. We've been called every name under the books the last 2 years. And now we're all a bunch of good guys and good gals because the slush fund that these guys have been feeding at for the last 20 years is on the table. Mm-hmm. And, now they want 20%. Well, somebody said yesterday 40 to 50% of the land in Charleston County has already been preserved. 49. Not one rail train, Mr. Werman, has rolled yet. So enough to the green space. Let's start working on transit and roads. That's where I would stand.
Okay. If I may be heard real quick, Mr. Grabowski. Mr. Pryor, if we took Greenbelt down to 16%.
What now?
If we reduced Greenbelt from 20 to 16%, and we took 1% from Bike Ped and put that 5% over to transit, that would give you your 20%. Would those percentages work for you?
Well, that's fine, because when you look at bike ped and greenbelts, they're all intertwined anyway. So, all you do is just, it's all semantics, because if you look at 20 and 5, they're still going to get 25, but if you take 1.5% and made it up to, 20% with public transit, bike ped and greenbelts. I just don't understand the 16%. Why wouldn't they be happy with just 15? To me, it's like we showing favoritism versus what is needed. Okay, and so I think, if 15% was offered, they would take that versus 16%, because I don't think nobody, now if it went down to 9 or 10 or less, then that might be an argument. But, all it is semantics. So wherever the 1% comes from, as long as public transit gets to the 20%.
So I take that as a yes.
I'll think about it. That's not a yes, but I'm just saying, I understand you live in a rural area, but I got to look at what's in urban as well, because, we North Charleston, like I say, we pay just about 35%, which is probably 63 cents on every dollar. And what are we going to get out of this in return?
Okay.
So you're asking us to sell this to the citizens in North Charleston, but when they look at this pie chart, what are we going to tell them? You got the shaft. And so I think it's time for us to just say, no, this is what our hard stance is, and if they vote for it, fine. If they don't, then, like they did in the other one, they did it, we didn't. We got to put a number out.
Yeah.
Mr. Gabrowski.
I just want to say in response to some of the things that, insult isn't the way to go. And I asked people about the Greenbelt, are we going to tell people not to believe what they see themselves? They're lying eyes. They see every day things disappear. And if we want to preserve our rural areas, and I push back, I have great respect for whatever Councilman Darby says, but I think that it's a misnomer to say that only wealthy people enjoy wildness in our sacred green spaces. I think that whether somebody's of modest means or wealthy, they can have an equal appreciation of maintaining our wildlife and our wild areas before they're gone. That's something that everybody treasures, and I would suggest that this is the single best way to preserve modest and low-income people in McClellanville, Allendale, Watermalaw, the parts of Johns Island that are still rural. If the green space is also to manage growth. I heard yesterday, limit overdevelopment and preserve the quality of life. The quality of life for people in Allendale, McClellanville, Watermalaw is enhanced by keeping our green areas, and everybody from all of Charleston County, whatever economic level they have a stake in maintaining that, because that goes directly to quality of life, and future generations will judge us by how we have preserved or letting what's unique about Charleston go. I would agree with public transit that to move people around is equally important, but I don't think that preserving our green and wild areas is limited in appreciation for one part of our population. I would ask to consider they all could participate in that and have a stake in maintaining that.
Ms. Honeycutt, I'm sorry. I'm guessing Mr. Darby.
Yes, sir. Mr. Gabrowski, may I ask you a point of order? I think Mr. Sass needs to be heard first.
Mr. Sass.
I think everybody needs to be heard first before we start getting to those. Yeah, that's just point of order. Thank you, sir.
No problem, sir. I'd like to remind everybody tonight that we are. This exercise is for us to move this item to Tuesday's meeting, and then we have another vote Tuesday, and then I think we have a 30-day comment period where we'll be hearing from the public, and we'll be making decisions, and we'll be working with staff about maybe a couple of these other items that didn't make the grade, or that maybe are need to be changed or looked at a little bit differently. That'll go on during that period of time. That being said, I think that Charleston County has made a big investment up to now in Greenbelt and in urban in transit. And we have a big investment in transit on the table that is ongoing. It's ongoing for this BRT and for our public transportation. And part of our plans have been to move density close to that route so people won't have to to drive, and maybe they can walk to those routes. And I think that I really, and I'm a landman. I think that more money needs to go to transit than we have scheduled now. And as far as Greenbelt's concerned, we're looking at more money than we've ever proposed in the two programs before for this one, even if it gets cut by 5%. And I still want us to preserve green space. And we need to remember too that Charleston County is not the only source of money to do green space and to preserve land and do easements and buy parks. I mean, we have lots of other groups like Ducks Unlimited and plenty of other ones, all these different foundations that partner with cities and towns and groups to preserve land. So it's not, if the money isn't proposed tonight for Greenbelt, that's not the end of the Greenbelt.
Thank you.
Because we still can get more Greenbelt money. We just might have to work harder at it. Now, I'll say Mr. Moody has been a real proponent of helping the library look forward to getting grants, and the library has done very well. Ms. Craig and her group have done an incredible job we weren't getting grants before, but we're getting them now. You guys have done a heck of a job. And so that's something that we need to look inward to do that, to get more money, to make these programs work. I think that they had a heck of a job trying to balance these three cities. Three of the cities and towns that are three of the four largest in the state are all in Charleston County. They all have a lot of needs, and we have to work with them to try to make this all work, because it's to all of our benefit if we can make this work. So I'd like to see us pass this forward tonight. I'd be willing to go 20% on transit and 15% on Greenbelt tonight, and to move that forward. So thank you.
Yeah, point of order. I'm going to ditto Mr. Mr. Moody. Let's see, Mr. K, Mr. Krabrowski, with all due respect, sir, and as a matter of fact, you're one of the few conservative intellectuals that I respect, sir. But I would like to say that I never said just for the wealthy. I said that it lends toward the wealthy because the wealthy have really gotten their share, as max sometime up to $12 million. So if you were to put up a chart between the wealthy and the poor, you'll find that the wealthy procured far many more millions than the poor. But I would say between those two groups, the wealthy, when it comes down to blacks and the white poor, those two groups get very little, if anything, compared to the wealthy. Now, in terms of anti-green belt, let me remind the public, it was Mr. Pryor, Mr. Bostic, and not to be ostentatious, and me who brought green belt dollars to Charleston County. It was we who came and brought this to existence. So I'm not anti-green space. Otherwise, we would never have fought for it. So I just want to put that on the record. You're talking to one, again, not to be supercilious, right, but you're talking to one of the guys who brought it into existence here. So I don't want it to be said that because I'm not anti-wealth, because one day I'm going to be wealthy. So I want to be the part of that group too. So I'm not anti-wealthy. Please.
Two more points and then
Go ahead, Mr.
I'm going to do it. So if I remember correctly, and somebody can fact check and then come back on Tuesday, because we've met all our Greenbelt's goal except for the outer corridors. So, I mean, this Greenbelt program has done, like Mr. Sass said, we have done so much with Greenbelt's funding, but, I believe we've met all of our goals of Greenbelt's except for the corridors. So somebody can come back on Tuesday and correct me if I'm wrong. And so that's why I'm saying 15% to them to secure other things. I mean, that's icing on the cake as far as I'm concerned. And to say we're going to now use Greenbelts to stop development, we need to be very careful. Okay, because other people are going to come in and say, well, you did it over here. Let's stop this development in my community by using Greenbelts fund. So we got to be careful how we phrase this. Okay, Greenbelts are supposed to be to preserve, mostly in the rural, but we use some in the urban as well too, like urban parks and playgrounds and all that stuff. So let us be very careful. And lastly, the city of North Charleston has taken everybody else's traffic. We've taken, we've got the naval base was there. We have the Air Force base. We have, paramedic commerce. All these traffic and all these things are coming through us. It was said one time before, somebody from the the mic over there said, we don't want it, send it to North Charleston. And I looked at Mr. Moody and I was like, I had to call him after the meeting. What is wrong with these people? So they want to send anything that's not productive to North Charleston. And now that North Charleston is coming and doing what we need and to be productive, it's like we're getting, the redheaded stepchild. And, it was North Charleston that took $12 million from Palmetto Commerce Parkway and sent it to Johnny Dawes Boulevard and Billy's Fields to finish that. Okay, it was North Charleston that did that. It was North Charleston that helped with the Midbank. So, again, I don't, I live in North Charleston all my life. And, I like everybody else, but I love North Charleston. So, I just want that to understand. But I'm fighting for everybody. But now this is the last one, so I got to make sure my constituents benefit as well, too. Just like everybody else looking out for their constituents, I got to look out for mine. So I'm not going to take a backseat anymore. I want to fight for what is right. And if we make it, we make it. If we don't, at least I went down fighting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Honeycutt?
Mr. Chairman, if I've heard everyone correctly, I think we have a motion that can carry.
May I ask a question? Yeah. Would you consider amending your original motion to provide for 16% Greenbelt, 20% mass transit, 4% bike ped, and the deduction of $75 million from the seawall to go into the infrastructure fund?
I think that's what we had consensus on. That's my notes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So I would
can
accept.
support that.
So that's just a pie chart, but that's not final.
This is what goes to Tuesday. We can still consult on Tuesday.
I understand, but what I'm saying is, once we do this on Tuesday, it has, you got to go through 3 readings. So we can amend it.
It goes to public. It goes to the public. This is not an ordinance.
Ms. Osby, do we have to do 3 readings?
No.
Not at
Not
this
yet.
point.
Not at this point.
No, sir, not at this point.
But before we send it to voter registration.
This is not.
Mr. Pryor, the point of information, this is only to get it out to the public for 30 days of comment.
Yes,
This is not
yes,
for the
I
referendum.
understand,
Yes.
but it's still not final. We may send it out and we still can change it.
Yes,
is what
sir.
I'm saying.
That's the point. Yes, sir.
But yes, sir. So the original motion is amended to reflect that we would have 16% on Greenbelt, 20% on transit, 4% on bike ped, and then removing $75 million out of the City of Charleston's what we'll call battery or seawall project. So 225 will remain there for the battery in Calhoun, and that $75 million can be put back into the roads project.
And I will renew my second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I
Go ahead, Mr.
am a
Middleton.
little bit more confounded. So taking a hit to bike ped, that's just 5%. I would prefer seeing that remain 5%. Mr. Sass made a very compelling point that, again, the Greenbelt program, one of the most successful cornerstone programs of our county government, can easily sustain a 15% percentage in this pie and then be inspired to go and seek other funding sources themselves and probably would do well. And so it's an easy mix to just make that flip. And certainly, again, based on, everybody's, sort of digging, putting their stakes down, and I'm a Charlestonian, and so I would, almost be a poor frog to not want all of those dollars to stay in this pond. And so I would, again, ask for that whole $150,000 or $75,000 that was about to be moved out, to remain in the city of Charleston, so that we can do whatever those other priorities, if we're not going to earmark those things to the battery extension.
All right, any further discussion and call for the question?
So what is the motion on the floor?
I'm sorry.
What's the motion on the floor?
I was going to let Ms. Hunter state it.
16 to Greenbelt, 22 transit, and then 4%, which 4% of the total pie is approximately $168 million for bike ped, which is still a very significant. When we start talking dollars as opposed to these percentages is significant. And Mr. Middleton, Reverend Middleton, you make a good point about that $75 million. I'm not saying it needs to come off the peninsula. What I would like to do is talk to staff about which projects we didn't include that may cover. So, for instance, there were a couple of smaller projects that scored over 90. There was one on Ladson Road, for instance. I think it was $3.8 million. Are there ones that we could cover with some additional funds? Or are there other places on the peninsula? We definitely need that Calhoun corridor, finished off. So some type of recommendation for that. But my understanding is that the battery extension in Calhoun with that could be covered with the $225 million that's remaining on that.
So, one more question.
Mr.
So,
Pryor.
what about the MUSC entrance that comes out of that parking lot that when the water comes up, it doesn't rain, the water comes up?
That's protected by this part of the seawall project.
I don't see how it could, because the water ain't gonna be coming this way, the water's gonna be coming up from underneath.
Mr. Werman may know, but this is the battery extension on the west side that goes up to the Citadel. But maybe Mr. Werman.
And what about the folks down there, what's the street down there where Milton by Burke and all that?
President Fishburne.
Haggett Avenue and all that. Those folks were promised relief too, so is this gonna relieve the flooding mayor? Is this gonna relieve that? Well,
he's still here.
so if this is gonna relieve all of what they say it is, and they're going out to get grants to cover the rest, I mean, maybe by removing the $75 million, what kind of disadvantage is that going to put you at? Just that one question.
Yeah. I mean, it'll put us at a disadvantage, but I think we could live with it.
All right, you had your chance. Thank you,
Mr. Ware.
You can live with it. You can live with it. Somebody help you out. All right, if he can live with it. Thank you.
One more question. Mr. Pryor, I think, brought up about the North Bridge. Why wouldn't that be split evenly between the two municipalities? Why is all that going to North Charleston bucket?
It should be. And we can address that, before the final goes to the
I'm just asking.
Mm-hmm. Should be.
I mean, our staff has told us that both municipalities would,
Mm-hmm.
if it were built, both would maintain it, both would secure it.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Charleston getting saddled with the whole
We
nut?
won't. They won't.
Mr. Wehrman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And yeah, I mean, like I said, we can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I can support this, particularly with Councilman Sass's understanding that, we're moving this forward for discussion. We got to get something that's in a comprehensible form out there to the public. I understand the mayor's position. I think for me, I'm going to have to dive into understanding the engineering on this, because I am kind of with you, Mr. Pryor. I don't fully understand how that addresses it. I know there's other projects that were proposed, so I'm not necessarily, binding. We haven't bound what those $75 million go to. I know there's a Calhoun Corridor project that is still on the peninsula, or maybe we could look at that split. So I'm not saying we're never going to touch that question again. I do want to get with city staff and get with some other folks to kind of understand, to make sure that battery extension is, in a timely manner going to address, some of those other concerns. This isn't the last time we're touching this, though. I think this is a good step forward, so I can support the motion on the floor.
Joe,
Chairman, if this is just to move it forward, why not just simplify and say 2015? Why are you digging the same, 16 or so if something just to go forward?
Yeah,
why not just flip it? Why
I'm
not just do it?
Because I'm a big advocate of the Greenbelt program. That's why.
Okay, all right, sir.
Plain and simple.
There is a large percentage of dollars that are tied to the Greenbelt that are going to Bike Ped. So when you look at Mount Pleasant, yes, sir. When you look at Mount Pleasant's allocations with their different trails that they're doing, that's Bike Ped improvements, but it's wrapped in Greenbelt dollars. So there is some trade-off in all of this.
We can talk about this on Tuesday.
Okay, yes,
Joe, can
I'm
you
good.
All right, we're going to move.
Could you do the motion one more time? Because a lot of give and take, so everybody
I'm going to ask
understands.
Ms. Honeycutt to read a motion, and then we're going to call for the question.
All right. The motion is to amend the staff recommendation to reflect 16% from Greenbelt, 20% to transit, 4% to Bike Ped, reallocating $75 million within the city of Charleston from the what we've been calling the seawall project, leaving the remaining $225 million for battery in Calhoun. That is the motion on the table.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
All opposed?
Roll call.
Okay, we got a request for a roll call. Ms. Salisbury?
Mr. Darby?
Whatever Mr. Worm and Mr. Price say, that's the way I'm gonna vote.
They're voting different.
Whatever they say, ma'am. Whatever they say, that's up. So make me last. Whatever.
Mr. Middleton?
Nay, what'd you say, sir?
I said nay.
Nay? And you a Greenbelt man?
I want it,
Okay, that's right, that's right.
just for the sake of
Nay.
others.
Mr. Moody?
Nay.
Middleton.
Mr. Pryor?
Penny?
Come back to me, let me think.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
I'll come with mine, ma'am. I'm gonna do a nay.
You're a nay?
Yeah, we'll see.
Is it me now?
Worman?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor?
I see the easy change of the 2015, so I'm gonna be a nay.
Okay. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Okay, that motion fails, 4 ayes and 5 nays.
All right, so Ms. Honeycutt,
Same motion, 1520.
say your motion 1520.
All right,
And
I'm sorry.
just for my clarity, and leaving bike ped 5?
5, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski?
Nay.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Nay.
Mr. Pryor?
Aye.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
Mr. Worman?
Aye.
Mr. Boykin?
Nay.
Okay, that motion passes with 6 ayes and 3 nays.
All right. That
Executive session? I'm sorry.
No,
session was necessary, and at this time, we are stand adjourned.
Well, have a good night.
No problem.
Enough, man. Hell with them.